Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope you're doing well. Today I bring you more tactical analysis on the channel. West Ham 1, Arsenal 2. That's 3 wins in a row. I'll be breaking it all down for you. Why Arsenal managed to beat West Ham at the London Stadium. So if you do go on to enjoy today's video, a like would be super appreciated. And if you're new around here, why not consider subscribing, as it massively helps me out. But what will we be covering in today's video? So first things first, we'll be covering the starting lineup and subs made by Arteta, followed by having a bit of a look at the statistics and action areas from both sides, then breaking down those key moments throughout the game, and then to finish up, as per normal, some player analysis, of course. So without no further ado, let's jump straight into things. So kicking off with the starting lineup, a couple of surprises, if I'm honest with you. First of which, Tomiyasu starting at right back. For those of you who did watch my preview video, I did say that I wanted him to start at right back, but I did half expect him to make the matchday squad and then maybe get sort of 20, 30 minutes towards the back end of the game. He did come off with what looked like a knock, but Arteta has squashed that and said that he does seem to be okay. Rob Holding was another one who came in for Ben White. No real news throughout the week or in the build-up to this one, but he has a tight hamstring. Nothing, again, to be too concerned about. And boy, what a game Rob Holding and Gabriel had at centre-back. Midfield, pretty much as per normal. Martinelli getting the nod ahead of Smith Rowe. No real surprises there. We fully expect Arteta to continue to rotate on that left-hand side. And even next season, if we've got that quality and depth all over the park, rotation will be key. And Nketiah also got a nod up front again ahead of Lacazette. And it begs the question, why hasn't he started a little sooner? Because he definitely adds a different dimension to this Arsenal side. Now, on paper, Arsenal did play a 4-2-3-1. But as we'll get into a later part of this video, we'll break down what that looked like in and out of possession. Substitutes-wise, no real surprises there either, if I'm honest with you. Cedric coming on for Tomiyasu, who did pick up a knock. Likewise with Saka, who is down as having fatigue. That's the way Arteta labelled it. Smith Rowe coming on for him. And then Sambi Lokonga for Odegaard in the 92nd minute with a very tough 2-1 victory to the Arsenal. I think Arteta not only wanted to waste a little bit of time, but solidify things in midfield. But let me know your comments down below. It's easy to look at this as a win, but would you have made any changes? Were there any real surprises for you either? Moving into the stats and action areas, West Ham, to my surprise, had the majority of the possession, only by a few percent. But I was expecting a not necessarily an easy game, but a much more straightforward game compared to the one we had, considering they had central defenders out through injury and suspension, and obviously coming off the back of a very emotionally draining and physically draining loss in the Europa semi-final, they gave us a much bigger run for our money than most Arsenal fans expected. Now, if we have a look here at the action areas, the first thing that stands out to me at least is that West Ham were clearly looking to target Arsenal out wide, with Tomiyasu starting his first game for Arsenal in months, obviously looking to get at him, and Tavares on the left-hand side, a potential weakness for West Ham to exploit. And we did see that, especially down that right-hand side, with the likes of Bowen and Soufal doubling up out there at times, and even Benrahma on that left. Now, if we have a look at Arsenal's shape, it looked like we had these clusters. We had clusters on the left in Martinelli, Tavares and Xhaka, and on the right it was Odegaard and Tomiyasu, as well as El Neni. And it was more of an asymmetrical shape, with Nketiah leading the line. And as per normal, for those of you that watch these videos on a regular basis, Saka highest and widest like he always does. And then it looked like we were playing with just those two centre-backs there as that last line. And this is again reflected in Arsenal's action areas. If we have a look here at the bottom right-hand corner, there wasn't a real area that we looked to exploit. We were attacking them on all fronts, left, right, and through the middle. Through the middle, obviously very, very difficult with Declan Rice there, an absolutely solid player. And we saw the return of Mark Noble as well. So some really, really, really good tactics used and implemented here by Arteta. And ultimately, this is where Arteta managed to undo David Moyes. Now, looking at the breakdown of the shape and tactics implemented by both managers. If we have a look here in picture number 1, no real differences in the way Arsenal lined up. Typically, when we've got the likes of, say, Thomas Partey, we do line up in more of a 4-3-3. Yes, as I said, 4-2-3-1 on paper. But when we look here, the Arsenal back four, as we can see, the deep double pivot. Normally, we would see Xhaka, this player here, pushing on a little bit forward as more of a number 8 alongside Martin Odegaard. And Martin Odegaard often found himself in this sort of space over here on the right-hand side. But this allowed Arsenal all the time and space that they needed to work their way up the pitch and build from the back. And we've got the exact same picture for picture number 2. Again, highlighting exactly the same formation here, this time for West Ham. We've got Mark Noble and Declan Rice here as their 2 deep-lying playmakers or defensively-minded midfield players, followed by a very narrow 3 in a slightly more advanced midfield position, and then all that running there being done by Jarrod Bowen. And if we have a look here, this is what I meant earlier on by that asymmetrical shape that Arsenal were offering. So at times, as we know, Tomiyasu is not exactly the most attacking-minded fullback, and often Arsenal found themselves in a back 3 when in possession, with Tavares pushing on as more of a left winger. And on this side, just out of picture, you would see Bukayo Saka as that right winger, and then you would see Martin Odegaard, and then just off screen here in this other yellow circle, you would see Martinelli. Both Martinelli and Odegaard were coming in narrow at times to operate in those half spaces. And then to allow Arsenal to play out from the back, we would see El Neni and Granit Xhaka drop in deep to allow that space in behind West Ham's midfield 4. And they were often in a low block, a 4-4-2 when defending. And then finally, picture number 4, when in possession, something that I haven't really seen too often in the Premier League. So when Arsenal were defending, we saw that typical 4-4-2 shape there. You got Nketiah and Odegaard, and then the 4-man midfield with Saka, El Neni, Xhaka, and then Martinelli on the left-hand side. But what we saw with West Ham, with what looked like a 3 at the back and 5 in midfield, when they were in possession, we saw the 2 centre-backs here, and then we saw Declan Rice pull out to the left-hand side, and we saw Mark Noble pull out to the right-hand side, which allowed West Ham a load of space. And I think that's where they were having a lot of joy, especially in that first half, because it's not what Arsenal were expecting whatsoever. And that's why they did dominate in large spells in that first half. And, well, mainly very, very, very surprised at the way West Ham was set up. So to finish up with the breakdown of key moments, we're going to have a little look at some of the goals that were scored during this game. First picture, very, very straightforward, not much to analyse. Across from Bukayo Saka, a bit of a mismatch with the marking there. I think it was Lanzini who was actually marking Rob Holding, and he jumps above the rest to get the ball in the back of the net. His first goal for Arsenal whilst at the club for 6 years. Picture number 2 was to highlight West Ham's goal. And we can see here, deep in midfield, Declan Rice plays the ball out wide to Soufal. We've got Jarrod Bowen here in the other circle. And that's what I meant about West Ham looking to double up out wide on this right-hand side. But Arsenal in a really good shape, to be fair to them. They've got the 4 at the back here, the 4 in midfield, and the 2 up top, not allowing West Ham any space between the lines. Very, very decent low block there by Arsenal. Unfortunately, West Ham find themselves in a great position. Arsenal themselves in picture number 3 here, still in a very, very good position with bodies around the ball and around the players. Soufal plays the ball in to Jarrod Bowen, who manages to squeeze a shot past Gabriel. It does take a deflection. For those of you who have seen the replays, it takes a deflection off of Gabriel's leg. Had that not have happened, I'm quite confident that Aaron Ramsdale probably would have saved that. But that made it 1-1 just before half-time. And then finally, in the second half, this came from a corner. There were a lot of questions as to whether or not it should have been given as handball. David Moyes wasn't too best pleased about it. It was reviewed by VAR. It wasn't given, of course. They suggested that it didn't come off of Rob Holding's arm. It eventually fell to Martinelli. And again, this is what I don't understand with the marking system here with West Ham. It was Lanzini again who was marking, this time Gabriel at the back post. And if you watch the replays, there's a split second there where Gabriel goes one way and Lanzini goes the other way. And had he have just followed his man and maybe applied a little bit of pressure, he probably, or could have at least put a bit of pressure on Gabriel, but it didn't. He heads the ball towards Fabianski, comes off his knee, back of the net, 2-1 Arsenal. And thankfully, after what was a touch and go all the way up until the final whistle. Arsenal ran out victors. So player analysis, for those of you who watch on a regular basis, this isn't necessarily the best players on the day. It might be players that I felt had a bad game, a good game, players that came in and made a difference, for example. And Mohamed Elneny, I have to give credit where it's due. Since he has come in, he has been absolutely phenomenal in an Arsenal shirt. He's been at the club for a very long time, hasn't often featured in an Arsenal shirt, especially over the last few years, mainly filling in when other players are injured or in those cup competitions when there needs to be a little bit of rotation. But on this occasion, he's been called upon because Sambi doesn't quite look ready and Partey is out injured, and he put in another shift. He's now being labelled the Egyptian Pirlo, and there was one pass he made in the second half, which was absolutely outstanding to Eddie Nketiah. Very unlucky not to score, but you can see there from his heat map, very disciplined, doesn't often veer away from where he needs to be. 91% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 2 completed long balls out of 5, 4 clearances and 2 duels, 1 out of 4. Solid performance from Mohamed Elneny. And I'm happy to see him feature in an Arsenal shirt between now and all the way up until the end of the season. Does he deserve a new contract for squad depth? Let me know down in the comments below. Eddie Nketiah, wow. Why hasn't this boy played a little sooner, especially since Aubameyang left Arsenal? We've opted to go with Lacazette. And yes, there was a point of time where Lacazette was providing a lot of assists and providing a lot of assistance generally across the team. But Eddie Nketiah has added a completely different dimension. He doesn't stop running. He is a defender's nightmare, constantly running at them, constantly putting them under pressure. And against West Ham, it was no difference. 6 shots, 4 on target. Brilliant stuff. 71% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 4 out of 4 successful dribbles. And this is what I mean about him being an absolute nuisance. 8 out of 10 duels won. Really unlucky not to get himself on the score sheet yesterday. Fabianski had to make some very crucial saves to stop his shots hitting the back of the net. And it was between him and Rob Holding who got man of the match. Eventually, it ended with Rob Holding, who we're going to talk about next. A player, a true professional who's come in for Ben White when required. He's got a tight hamstring, as already mentioned, and he's coming in those sort of last 20 minutes in games as well when Arsenal revert into a back 5 to see games out, and he always does a professional job and rewarded with a goal. Will he be at Arsenal next year? We certainly need that squad depth at the back. 4 top defenders at the back for me in that central position, but he was rewarded, as mentioned, with a goal. 89% passing accuracy, so another really solid ball playing defender. 7 clearances, 2 tackles. I think he also had 2 interceptions and 8 out of 8 duels won. Absolutely phenomenal, and definitely, in my opinion, deserved man of the match. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Was it him? Was it someone else? And should we give plaudits to anyone else from the game, Arsenal versus West Ham? Let me know your thoughts down below. So that is going to about wrap things up for today. Arsenal firmly in the driving seat, still in the driving seat for a top 4 finish. Hopefully we can get the job done. Leeds up next before a huge North London derby, all of which will be covered on the channel, of course. But if you have enjoyed today's video, a like would be super appreciated. And if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing, as it helps me and the channel out massively. The support has been absolutely phenomenal recently. Less than 40 away from that 1,300 target, so please do hit that subscribe button. But I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.